Rosie O'Donnell is quite possibly MAGA's biggest critic, but today she was forced to issue a grovelling public apology after falsely claiming the suspect in the Minnesota school shooting tragedy was MAGA.
Hi everybody, it's Rosie O'Donnell, star of the Flintstones. Listen, I have a cold sore, I know. Happens, get run down, you know. Anyway, I know a lot of you were very upset about the video I made before I went away for a few days. I didn't go online and haven't seen them till today, but you are right. I did not do my due diligence before I made that emotional statement. And I said things about the shooter that were incorrect. I assumed, like most shooters, they followed a standard MO and had standard, feelings of NRA-loving kind of gun people. Anyway, the truth is, I messed up, and when you mess up, you fess up. I'm sorry. This is my apology video, and I hope it's enough.
The apology came after a ramble O'Donnell posted on TikTok, which made incorrect assumptions about the alleged shooter.
What do you know? It was a white guy, Republican, MAGA person. What do you know? White supremacist. Nothing has happened since Columbine. Nothing. The Million Mom March? Nothing.
Commentator Jeff Mead blasted O'Donnell, calling her behaviour nasty.
Nasty behavior. Absolutely nasty behavior. This individual is lying through her front teeth. So she's going to tell her 2 million followers that the shooter in Minneapolis was MAGA, was a Trump supporter. None of this is true. He was a transgender individual who quite literally had "Killed Donald Trump" written on his weapons, like his gun and an optic. If you look here, what does it say? If you look here at the optic, what does it say? And when does it say do it? Right now. The evidence quite literally shows the exact opposite of what she said. And here's what's crazy. This happened on the 27th of August, which was 3 days ago. Look here at the bottom. She posted this 1 day ago. The evidence I showed you was out the day this happened. This individual is quite literally inventing a narrative to demonize MAGA and Donald Trump. And she's pushing that out to her millions of followers. It's not just an innocent mistake. It's blatant misinformation. It's disingenuous, it's deceptive, it's malicious, and it's manipulative.
But it wasn't only Rosie O'Donnell who mischaracterized the alleged shooter. Sky News host James Morrow slammed other media outlets for their typical cover-up of the shooting.
Of the shooting at a Minneapolis Catholic church where students at a back-to-school mass at the Annunciation Catholic School, where at least 2 children have died and 17 more were injured. Now, frankly, it's really too horrible to contemplate here, but we have to talk about it because this story, this tragedy, has sadly become political. Now, this individual, Robin Westman, has been identified as the shooter, but because Robin identified as trans and posted a long, violent manifesto about his transgenderism and regrets and hatred of Donald Trump and Israel and the Jews and the Catholic Church and a billion other things, well, that's created a bit of a problem for the media. This American ABC report was typical.
We've also been going through it and can tell you there are crude diagrams of the church. There are also photos of the weapons, and they include all sorts of writings, the names of past mass shooters, criticism of Israel, the name of President Trump written on the guns. There are also racial slurs.
The name of President Trump. Racial slurs. You can see what they're doing here. They're trying to suggest maybe Westman was some sort of alt-right white supremacist MAGA fan. But what did the ABC leave out? Westman had written the words, "Kill Donald Trump," on his gun. I don't know. I kind of think that's important, for context, right? The New York Times, of course, was just as bad. They wrote, quote, On social media, some conservative activists have seized on the shooter's gender identity to portray transgender people as violent or mentally ill. The right-wing uproar over Ms. Westman's gender identity echoed the politicized reaction to a 2023 mass shooting at the Covenant School in Nashville, which was carried out by a former student whom the police said was transgender. In a news conference, Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis, a Democrat, urged the public to avoid scapegoating transgender people, unquote. So, you see what they did there? They did the right thing at the start by clearing up confusion about Westman's gender identity, but the paper was so afraid of the conclusions its readers might draw that it surrounded the report with layer after layer of messaging. So, like, if you paid the attention to the gender issue, they're saying, well, don't do that, because if you do that, you're right-wing and a conservative activist. And they also reminded you that Jacob Frey, a Democrat, so pay attention, urged against scapegoating. All this while insisting others politicized the shooting. Well, no, sorry, I'm not going to let that slide.
Minnesota was shocked by the horrific events of the shooting just last week, where 2 children were killed and several injured.
Joining us now is Hilary Fordwich, president and founder of Strellmark. Hilary, thank you for your time. Let's start with the horrific news out of Minneapolis, where at least 2 children have been killed after a gunman opened fire inside a school church. The victims are aged 8 and 10. More than a dozen others have been injured. Law enforcement agencies have identified 23-year-old transgender woman Robin Westman as the alleged gunman. Now, Robin Westman was formerly male Robert Westman. He allegedly had a handwritten manifesto with the message "Kill Donald Trump" written on magazines. The FBI is investigating this shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. This is just so heartbreaking and just so horrific. What more do we know about this shooter?
Yes, Gabriella, it's horrific, it's ghastly, and as a dear friend in Minneapolis actually said to me, Minnesota, said, there are horrible people in this world. And if you look at the manifesto that was actually publicized, he talked about, the fact that he wanted to kill children. And I can't even relate to, I don't know if any of our viewers can relate to anyone who would want to ever kill a child. He had multiple guns, multiple weapons. His manifesto laid out everything he was going to do, including choosing the right outfit. He had attended this particular Catholic school. His mother worked there. There are photographs of them as a family on Facebook, and neighbors have actually said, they seem like a completely normal family. It's very just daunting to think that this could be anybody's neighbor. He purchased the guns legally, and he actually posted on YouTube part of these manifestos. So it's actually a little surprising that nothing was ever brought down, or that somehow YouTube isn't monitoring that. I think that's a great pity too, Gabriella.
And Rosie O'Donnell wasn't the only one to be criticized for her reaction to the tragic events. The mayor of Minneapolis was also slammed for his tone-deaf response, dismissing the thoughts and prayers for the victims.
And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance.
And in addition to these comments, Mayor Jacob Frey used the tragedy to stand with the trans community in another move that attracted heated criticism.
And I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids.
Commentator CJ Pearson slammed the mayor, saying Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey just demanded that people stop villainizing the trans community after a trans person shot Catholic children who were attending Mass. This guy is a disgrace to his office. Host Scott Jennings doubled down on slamming the mayor.
I really don't know what to say to Mayor Fry. People of faith turn to prayer in times of tragedy, and to decry their prayers, to belittle their faith, to angrily attack those whose faith fortifies them in their own lives, especially on days like today. I just don't know what to say to Mayor Fry. Perhaps, sir, you're trying too hard to please a political base. My advice, offered humbly, is to shut up for a few hours and try not to offend anyone else as they grieve and recover from this tragic moment.